This is the Last Minute Blues Podcast with Donnie, Alex, Jeremy, and Jeff Burton.
It is the Last Minute Blues Podcast. Donnie Fandango in studio, joined by Mr. Alex Ferrario from 101 ESPN. Our guy, Jeremy Rutherford, who, man,
Red Rock living.
that guy, he works so hard. I just feel so bad for that dude. Daughter playing in a softball tournament.
Yep.
They're in Colorado on a bit of a Rutherford family vacation, but it is also the week of free agency opening, and that dude is churning out articles left, right, and center.
Yeah, I wasn't
my
sure.
man is not relaxing at all.
I was kind of imagining Jeremy Rutherford finding out that Pius Suter's sign when he was going up a flight of stairs at Red Rock. And like, honey, I got to go back down.
Like he's all the way at the top. So yesterday, as we were... So, I had a bunch of stuff to do after we got done podcasting, and I had kind of, normally I try, the timing of it works. I normally post it probably between 10:30 and 11 once I get back on the air at the point. And yesterday, a couple of things, were kind of popping off, and I didn't get to post it till probably, almost right at 11. And it was legitimately almost as soon as I saw the podcast pop up in the feed and go, oh, cool, it's there, it's ready for people. I saw the Letty going on waivers thing, and I went, yep, there goes that.
I knew it too. When I texted you guys on Tuesday, and I said, I guess we should podcast tomorrow because of all of the stuff that went down, the Bolduc trade, the Bukestad signing, and it's like, we probably should podcast. And I said in the back of my mind, you know when those two little things show up on your shoulders, like, yeah, do it, don't do it, because they're going to make moves tomorrow. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but they might make moves, but it's like people want to know about these moves right now. Yeah. But the moment we ended that, I'm like, they're going to do something. Yeah. And then, of course, we start our show and Letty goes on waivers. I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. And then on top of that, we'll get to this too, we put out the social media videos. I work with Mike Ryder over at 101, and we put out social media just to kind of show people hey, this is what you want to tune into. So we used the clip talking of Jeremy Rutherford. I don't know why I keep calling him Jeremy Rutherford. We used the clip of JR.
Very, very formal.
Very professional today.
I'm happy to be in the studio with you, Alex Ferrario.
T-shirt and hat, Donnie Fandango. But I used the clip of JR talking about this team's good, the bottom six, but it's do you need to make an upgrade? And it was going to go out at 9 a.m. today, and I go, well, this is irrelevant now, so
delete,
here we go.
Delete. All right. So first and foremost, I want to start with Nick Letty. And primarily this podcast is going to be, about the moves that were made yesterday. Yeah. But I want to first talk about the Nick Letty situation. One, we'll find out later today whether or not another team claimed him. I would think, and this is just me talking, please correct me if I'm wrong, that the chances of a team picking him up for the last year and for $4 million are probably pretty slim, right?
No, I actually think they're very high.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
All right. Tell me why.
So here, you remember the Barclay Goodrow situation last year with the Rangers, correct?
Yes.
So where, if people that don't remember, Goodrow was under contract with the Rangers. They reportedly had a trade in place with the San Jose Sharks, and Goodrow said no, nixed it. He had a modified no trade or something like that.
Yes.
And so he nixed it. Cool, that you're able to do that. But the Rangers said, well, we're putting you on waivers. Because they do, somebody's going to claim you. Mm-hmm. So this is total speculation by me. I know nothing. Mm-hmm. But you ask yourself, the Brian Windhorst meme, why would they put him on waivers now? Because it's not a buyout candidate. And if they're going to put him on waivers, why wouldn't you keep him through training camp so that he could compete with guys? And then if you don't like it, then you put him through waivers.
Maybe he raises stock up a little bit.
Maybe the trade value goes up because an injury takes place. Mm-hmm. Why would you do that now? To me, his full no trade was a modified no trade. I think it's 16 teams that he can say no to. I wonder if the Blues had a trade available, Letty said no, and the Blues said, okay, we'll put you through waivers because somebody will claim you. Otherwise, I don't know why you'd be doing that right now. Because if he goes through waivers, you only get $1 million of cap relief according to Puckpedia. So you get $1 million off of your cap hit. You're still paying him his salary, but it's a $3 million AAV versus a $4 million AAV.
So you're saving a little money, but that's not
And the Blues don't need cap space.
Okay, that's not a difference.
Before Letty went on waivers, they still had $7.5 million of cap space to work with because of the Krug LTIR situation. So they could have made all of these contracts work. So to me, I really wonder if they tried to trade Letty, and that's what Saravalli reported yesterday, that, hey, look, Doug Armstrong was looking around, couldn't really find the deal, so they decided to put him through waivers. I wonder if we see him get claimed by a team today, and my tinfoil will be that team wanted to trade for him.
But he was
Letty
on there.
didn't want to go there.
All right.
And so they said, well, we'll put you through waivers and you'll get claimed.
Okay, so let me ask you this real quick. And honestly, I understand that the importance of the question that I'm about to ask is minimal.
No.
All right. But one of the things about that situation with the Rangers last year is that left kind of, from what I understand and from what I've read, that was another sort of thing in the Chris Drury universe there in New York that really pissed off the players and the locker room because Gaudreau was somebody that was very highly thought of there. So they sort of looked at it, while it being something that the team is able to do, I don't know a better way to say this, but like a kind of shady sort of thing.
I mean,
is that so? Is it this
I don't
sort
know
of?
if it's going to affect this team, though.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at.
And the only reason I'm saying that is I think the Gaudreau was already another piece to a dirty puzzle.
Right. Yes.
They were actively trying to move Jacob Trouba the year prior, Chris Kreider the year prior. They couldn't find anything to do, so they continued to try and do that. And then the Gaudreau thing happened where they were like, we need to get rid of you. So I think they were breaking up that team, and the Rangers were like, what are you guys doing right now? Doug Armstrong is so meticulous in what he does that it just doesn't feel like the team would view that as, oh, that's a shady move.
Okay.
Now, I could be completely wrong at 11 a.m. today, and he clears waivers, and he's just going to the minors because the Blues said, we're just not going to make the team. You'll go to the minors, and then maybe they go the Brandon Saad route. But that's just kind of my tinfoil theory with it. But, I mean, if you're a part of the team, you see the Mailloux trade, you see the Bukestad signing, you see the Pius Suter signing. I mean, if you're the team, you're looking at this saying, okay, well, they're trying to improve it. At what cost? Yes, but tried to make the trade, didn't work, and this was the option to go. So it'll be something to keep an eye on as the season progresses, but I think the Gaudreau thing was just piling on top of the filth that was around the Rangers in terms of them trying to move guys that had no movement clauses.
Absolutely. So then talk about how the defense looks with Letty out of the picture. This opens up the door for Tyler Tucker to have his. That's his spot to lose, right?
I mean, like, so they told Ryan Suter, probably not going to be circling back with you. We're set right now. When they made the Mailloux trade, you looked at that as like, okay, well, they got another guy in their six that's going to be playing this year. Tucker's there. Somebody's the odd man out. And you're not going to keep 8 defensemen, at least in my opinion, in terms of Letty and Kessel. So either Letty or Kessel are going to have to go through waivers, or you're going to have to trade Letty, Kessel, or Falk. Seemed to like Kessel a lot. So it made sense that one of them was going to be the odd man out. I think the way this looks right now is you're probably starting the year with Broberg and Falk as a pair. You've got Tucker and Mailloux as your third pair, and then Kessel is that extra defenseman. And then you'll have guys in the system that you could call up if you need to. But the hope is that as the season progresses, Mailloux moves into that second pair role to play with Broberg, and Falk becomes a third pair defenseman for you, which is not I know people are going to hear that and be like, $6.5 million for a third pair defenseman. Go look at what the market's offering.
100%.
That's what they're going for. $6.5 million for a defenseman playing third pair minutes where he can play power play time for you if you choose. I don't think that's a bad thing at all for this Blues team. So now you've got the depth.
Okay, so then with that being said, Alex, you know, one of the things that we've been talking about for the last year or so is Falk's steal. Yeah. So does this mean that Falk is still in play as the season goes on, or because of, you know, moving on from Letty and things like that, do you need him here?
I think you kind of need him here. Unless you go to the market and you sign another guy, I don't think they're going to do that.
Right.
I think you kind of need him because if you look at the depth chart, Donnie, like Kessel would be the next man up, and it seemed like they weren't ready for him to be an everyday NHLer. This might give him a better opportunity to progress this year, but it just didn't seem like he's ready for that. And then beyond it, I mean, you're talking Jiricek's a few years away. Lindstein's probably a couple of years away. Buchinger, they're pretty high on, but he didn't have the greatest year in the AHL. Like, they just don't have anything else below them. Now, that doesn't mean they can't go out and make some type of signing or, I mean, the Bo Byram rumors are still out there. So I don't know if that's something that they go down and at least investigate in. For the now, I think you need Justin Falk because you need a veteran who could play 20-plus minutes a night until you know that Mayu's ready to take that jump. Next season, not this coming one, but the 2026-2027 when he's got his last year of his contract, that's the one I'm uncertain of because I don't know what this team looks like. But for the now, I think you needed one of Falk or Leddy, and they chose to keep Falk over Leddy.
Before we talk about Suter here real quick, I just vividly remember when, pardon me, Colton Parayko signed his deal however many years ago, and people were losing their goddamn mind that dude was making $6.5 million a year. And I believe that cap hit is still like around 6.5 or 7.
$6.5 million.
Dude, it's a steal.
Yep, it's $6.5 million, and I think it's for the next 5 years. It's $6.5 million. Yeah, we made it, Donnie. We made it, Donnie.
Dude, that's incredible.
Dom from The Athletic has not written an article of that being the worst contract in the NHL. I think we've officially made it to, hey, Colton Parayko is a really good defenseman, and he's making $6.5 million. Why Evan Bouchard just got paid $10.5 million.
Can I tell you that I made a terrible strategic error with the Radiothon this year?
Are you talking Parayko?
Yeah, man.
I was waiting for him.
Dude, last year, this is how dumb I am. Last year, he comes in, and we have a wonderful chat.
Yeah.
Dude, he is just such a nice man.
Absolutely.
Just a honest to God, sweetheart. You can tell that Colton Parayko's parents did a really nice job. So, towards the end of our chat last year, I have him sign a picture, and he's like, hey, what do you want me to sign this at? What do you want me to sign this? And I said, to Donnie, my best friend forever, can't wait to hang out with you, or just whatever.
Here's my phone number, my address, come over whenever you want.
But he laughed, and we had a really nice time. So as he's leaving, he says to me, hey, if you need help with this next year, you call me, I'm in.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Great job by him.
Except... Dude, the 2 weeks leading up, I was too scared to ask anybody in the Ronald McDonald House to reach out to him to be a part of it. I am such an idiot.
You should have reached out to him on that one.
Dude, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
So
we need to get him in on the podcast then at some point this offseason so we can tell him this story.
100%. And then also, too, we had him talking about, and we'll obviously go back to what we're here for in a minute, but we had him I had him, kind of talking about why he was involved so heavily with Ronald McDonald House, because he does a lot.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like surface level stuff that he does for the pictures. My man is doing a ton with that organization, and to hear him talk about it and how it intersects with how his parents brought him up.
I know.
Dude.
Yeah. He's an incredible human being, and I know people joke that he's like one of the nicest guys in the world. Like, that's how he is on the ice. And, we want him to be just nastier. Yeah. Dude is just, this is who he is.
Yeah, man.
He'll go out of his way to say hello to you and ask how you're doing in the middle of January when they've gotten the crap beat out of him on the ice. And he just stops. He's like, hey, man, how you doing? Right. Like, stop it, Colton. Just enough already.
Dude, just please stop being
You're
so
making
awesome.
me look like a bad guy.
But it was really great for him,
Yes.
for me as a fan of him personally, to see him have the year that he had last year and to quiet a lot of people is really great.
And just a side tangent on that, this is the reason all these defensive moves are big for the Blues. This is you're adding more weaponry to Colton Parayko so he doesn't have to do it himself.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't even think
you've
about
got Cam Fowler, who now showed last season can play 20-plus minutes a night. You've got Falk, who can play 20-plus minutes a night. Broberg, who can play 20 minutes a night. Like, Logan Mailloux, from everything we've talked, and we've talked to a ton of Montreal Canadiens people over these last couple of days, this is a potential top pair defenseman. The comparison that I heard was Evan Bouchard. 23 minutes a night with an offensive upside. So, I know.
Dude.
I know. You're adding. Now, the key word that I said there was potential.
Right.
He's not going to be Bouchard this season. It's the potential of getting there. He's 21 years old.
There's a lot to learn for this guy.
But you brought in multiple guys who could play 20 minutes a night compared to what you had to where it was Krug, Falk, Parayko. That was it.
Yeah,
Then
man.
it was Mikkola. Then it was a couple of these other guys, that Jake Wallman, that just were not living up to what the hope was. Marco Scandella. Now you've got 4 dudes who could play 20 minutes with the potential of another one coming.
All right, so when I say that his name is Pius Suter, you're going to say that's
It's
incorrect.
think of a razor gun.
All right.
Pews, pews.
Ooh, that's even cooler.
Yeah, you know how I made fun of Neil Pionk? Like, Pionk! It's pews. Suter. I promise
totally-
I'm not making fun of it.
I totally forgot about that. All right, so let's talk about this guy. Let's talk about why we are so excited to have him. From what I understand, now listen, I want to kind of take this.
No, I want the fan perspective first.
Okay, I'm kind of, and whether it's fair or not, I'm comparing him to kind of Radek Faksa in the fact that, from what I understand, Suter, more offensive upside, can play center, can play the wings, which is something that Faksa could do. So can you kind of sort of talk about the comparisons there, although Suter has, I mean, the upside is there, and he's coming off his highest scoring season of his career. So is it wrong for me to look at him through the lens of Radek Faksa? Is that sort of the role in which that he's going to be playing? But it's going to be like Faksa plus. It's not just that, right?
Yeah, I don't even think...
Or am I totally wrong?
No, it's not that you're totally wrong. It's just I think the Faksa comparison now is Bukestad.
Okay.
Bukestad now, but here's the thing. I still believe they're going to play Bukestad in the third line. I think Bukestad might be a winger for this team now on the third line. Sundqvist becomes the Radek Faksa. But regardless of the Faksa replacement, think of the center depth that you had last year. It was Thomas, it was Schenn, for a little bit there, it was Pavel Buchnevich. Thank God we're moved on from that one. It was Sundqvist, it was Faksa. That was your center depth. Now it's Thomas, it's Schenn, it's Pius Suter, it's Nick Bukestad and Oskar Sundqvist. Like, you just got deeper on the center position. I think what they did was they signed a guy who can play the second line center for you in Pius Suter, but is more than likely going to be your third line center next year. Because he was awesome for Vancouver for the last 2 seasons. But in the last 2 seasons, he went from being a third line center for them to last year, he moved up to the second line because of the JT Miller trade. So Miller got traded. They put Suter up on the top line, and I think he went on a point-per-game pace in the last, 30 games of the season.
Because he was given that opportunity on that line.
Yes, he's defensively savvy. He's one of the best defensive centermen in the game right now. His face-off numbers aren't the greatest, but you've got one of the best face-off coaches in the game in Steve Ott. And he has an offensive upside. Now, everything that I've heard about him is he's slow. He does not check, he doesn't hit, but he generates offense and creates opportunities with the puck on his stick better than you'd expect. So, you're not going to see him skate like Kyrou. You're not going to see him go through people like Dylan Holloway. But he's so savvy with his stick defensively that he's able to create offense in the neutral zone off of the rush and use his wingers to his advantage. So this is the part that I don't know what's going to happen. I think there could be a shot he plays second line center with Kyrou and Holloway because they like the speed factor with his defensive ability. But I think they're also looking at this as now we've got 3 lines. Now we've got a Neighbors and a Suter. And then if Dvorsky makes this team, cool, you could play on the wing. If he doesn't, Bukestad's probably my winger on the third line, which that's a 6'6", 200-pound dude who 2 years ago scored 20-plus goals. And now Sundqvist becomes Radek Faksa and plays your fourth line with Walker and Toropchenko. And as Sundqvist's season goes on, well, now if he has to take some games off, well, Bukestad drops down to your fourth line. And Texier goes to the third line with offense. I think what the Suter thing did was it just created versatility for your offense. From top to bottom, you've got a guy who could play second line center. You've got a guy who could play third line center. You've got another guy that could play third line center, third line wing, fourth line center. You've got a lot of guys who can do a lot of things compared to last year's offense where it was Sundqvist, Faksa. That was it.
All right.
You had no other centers.
Is Suter a PK guy? So he
PK guy. Now, he's not a power play guy. I believe all but 2 of his points last year were at even strength. So he's not going to be a power play guy for you, which I don't know if they need him to be a power play guy. I know you lost Bolduc on the power play, but you're adding Jimmy Snuggerud. You're adding Dylan Holloway back from his injury. If Texier is playing, I think Bukestad's going to be a power play guy for how big he is. So you don't need him to be power play, but he's going to be big-time penalty kill player for you. Probably going to be somewhat like Faksa, where he's taking defensive zone faceoffs at certain times. But I think he's going to be more of an even strength weapon that when you see the puck in the offensive zone and you need fresh legs, I think he might be one of those guys that comes out there on the ice.
So if you're talking about, and we're just spitballing here, but we're going night number 1, game number 1, your 3 scratches in the box are Kessel, Texier, Joseph probably.
Yep. That would be my 3 scratches because I would have Sundqvist on that 4th line at the center position, and Bukestad would be my right winger on the 3rd line with Neighbors and Pius Suter.
Boy, and isn't it, I don't want to say frustrating, it's not frustrating, but like with Texier and Joseph both, I feel like, and not as often as we would like, but I feel like we see little bursts of what the player could be. You know, do you see either one of those guys still being in enough of a learning phase in their career where maybe where they can push harder for a spot or something come training camp?
I think that's the case for Texier. Like this isn't a bash on Matthew Joseph because I think Matthew Joseph's an awesome person being in that locker room. It's just inconsistent with his play. Like he's physical, he's forechecks, but there's not a lot more there with it. Now, he's a penalty killer, and I do think he's going to get penalty kill opportunities throughout the season. He feels like the guy that can sub in on that 4th line if Walker or Toropchenko hits an injury bug or if Sundqvist goes down. Joseph can play the center position. Texier is the one that is still super young that I know Jim Montgomery sees the upside with. His problem was health. He just couldn't stay healthy last year. It's like he would come in, and then he would be out for a few games, and then he would come back, and then he would get injured again. He just couldn't stay healthy. We all saw the shot. He's got an elite shot. He plays fast. It's just, can you stay healthy enough? So I do think there's a scenario that Texier is on that 3rd line wing for you. Bukestad's that 4th line center, and Sundqvist might be one of those healthy scratches. But I think Texier's got to show it a little bit more. And I know for a fact the people that are saying Oscar Sundqvist's not on this lineup on opening night, you're sadly mistaken because this coach adores Oscar Sundqvist. And the only reason, not the only reason, a big reason Oscar Sundqvist played that 3rd line center role last year was because Jim Montgomery said he's helping push Zach Bolduc along and understanding the game. So Sundqvist is in this lineup, in my opinion, especially opening night when he's the freshest. Then it comes down to how does his body hold up over the year and what does Texier look like throughout the season.
But that's all right, though, because you can manage.
Oh, totally.
You can manage games for Sonny, especially if you've got a little bit of depth going there. Then you can kind of, the way that dude plays, man. You'd like to tell him, like, hey, dude, like, let's just tone it down a bit. But then you're like, well, then you're not Sonny anymore.
But then you're not Oscar Sundqvist.
Right,
like, use your artificial legs on purpose and start running them through people, and we'll make sure you're healthy for the playoffs.
Dude, that's just one of those guys that, like, I just picture their post-NHL career. Like, and I guess I say this kind of jokingly, but not, but like I see that dude being 40 and walking like he's 80. You know what I'm saying? Like he just looks, he ain't worried about his post-NHL life. That is for sure.
No, he's getting back to what he was prior to all of these legs injuries. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get back to that type of player. I mean, Sundqvist puts a lot of effort into the health side, the appetite, or the meal side of things on the other side of the game so that he can be the best version of himself. And I mean, I remember talking to him this past year and he said, this is the best I've felt in the last 3 years because like I'm healthy again. I'm staying consistent again. So that's really what you hope for. I mean, he's 31 years old. It's not like the guy's 39. Right. You know, so it's like, it's just the body has gone through a lot of wear and tear, but as time progresses, you hope that heals up a little bit. But this is the thing, Donnie, like you went from being a team that didn't have a lot of depth and questioning what your 3rd and 4th line looked like now with no Foxa and no winger on the 3rd line. So now I'm looking at it being like, man, this is a pretty deep team.
It seems that way. And so do you know, man, they're probably not making any more moves between now and the time of camp. I mean, Doug Armstrong's
I was going to say, I don't think so.
But we're going to post, and then in an hour.
Yeah, Byram's going to probably get offer sheeted and be like, son of a Army, stop it. But, like, that's the thing. I want to say an Army's going to talk in about 2 hours to people. So we'll find out, obviously, what more he has to say. I guarantee he's not going to sell any information. I could see him add another defenseman. Like, you move on from Nick Leddy, but maybe you bring in another depth NHL piece that's a fringe guy that can go up and down. I could see them go after a Bo Byram. Like, I mean, I know it's kind of out of this world outlandish, but I mean, are we going to act as if they wouldn't go after another young defenseman that could be here for the next 5-6 years? I don't think they're adding any more to the forward position. That's where I would look at it and say they're good. Defense, I'm still not I'm still not certain that they're done, but I think this is just more like me thinking Army's a wild man more than I think they're actually going to do something.
All right, so, one of the things that we have seen a bit so far with free agency and in this offseason is it seems as though that there are a couple of teams in the Pacific that have gotten stronger, and the one that I think of right off the top of my head is Anaheim.
Yeah.
That is going to be a tough squad.
That's going to be a fun team, and especially if they get Nikolai Ehlers, they're going to be a really interesting. I don't know how good they're going to be yet,
right?
But with Quenneville and with a lot of the players on that roster, like you have to imagine they step their game up because they know they've got a guy who's won Stanley Cups in the past. One side note that I just thought of: the fact that Granlund signed 3 years at $7 million with Anaheim versus Pius Suter, who signed 2 by $4 million. Dude, what a steal by Doug Armstrong.
Yeah, man.
Like, what a steal.
Like, term and AAV.
Yeah. Right? Like, that's wild. But, yeah, Anaheim to me is going to be one of the more exciting teams to watch this year, just like we thought Utah was going to be last year.
Well, when you saw the Marner edition in Vegas, it seems like there are some teams in the Pacific. LA was really busy first couple of days of free agency. And one of the things we talked about late in the year last year on the podcast was just that the Central was just, was like a Royal Rumble, every single year, but I haven't really seen, and we were talking about this a bit before we started, we haven't really seen anybody in the West at least, really truly improve themselves that much. Colorado hasn't done much. Minnesota hasn't done anything. I gotta be, and if you're Winnipeg, if you don't get Ehlers,
you're in trouble.
Bull baby.
Yeah.
So the Central kind of seems like,
it's weird, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing, the Central Division, in my opinion, is always one of the toughest divisions to play in. Like, every single year, there's going to be 5 teams fighting for one of those 5 playoff spots. But, look around. Winnipeg added Jonathan Toews. That's it. They lost Mason Appleton. They might lose Nikolai Ehlers. Sure, they're running it back. What did they add?
And isn't Lowry out for a good chunk of the beginning of next year?
I think he's going to be out for the first few months. Now, they still have Connor freaking Hellebuck, so, they'll be great in the regular season and awful in the playoffs. But they didn't do much. Dallas lost a couple of guys. Now, they brought back Jamie Benn. They brought back Matt Duchene, but they traded away Mason Marchment. They're trying to move off of some of their defensemen. And then the whole, what are we going to do with Jason Robertson thing is still up in the air. And they don't have Pete DeBoer there anymore. And I know you don't like, what?
Sourpuss.
Sourpuss. I almost said pucker face. And I'm like, nope, that's not what it is. So, I'm not saying Dallas is going to be bad because they got Mikko freaking Rantanen, but the depth isn't as deep as it was last year. Colorado traded away Charlie Coyle, and they have Brent Burns, who 40-year-old Brent Burns, congratulations to you.
Cool.
Yeah, that's about it. Utah really hasn't done much. They were supposed to be making these big splashes. They got Peterka, but you traded away a defenseman, you didn't bring anybody else in. In Minnesota acquired Nico Sturm and Vladimir Tarasenko. They were supposed to be the team that had all the cap space and was ready to start wheeling and dealing. They got to go back to their centerman that they've been trying to trade and be like, hey, buddy, we don't hate you anymore. Will you sign a 1-year deal so we can figure out what to do?
Talking about Rossi.
Marco Rossi.
Yeah.
So, again, this always sounds so homer when I say it, but I look around at what teams did this offseason, not at what their overall roster is, but what they did this offseason. The Blues had the best offseason of any Central Division team.
Yeah.
And it might still not be over.
Well, dude, and plus 2, if you are a Minnesota Wild fan, all right, dude, and you see that team not adding big names that can make Kaprizov happy, and you're just like, oh my gosh.
What are we doing?
I just have a feeling that dude is not going back to Minnesota.
I do too, man.
And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe he signs a big deal tomorrow. But
I know they've said, hey, we're going to do everything we can to keep Kaprizov. We're going to make sure he stays here. That's all fine and dandy, man, but those players want to win.
Yep.
And I think you got worse more than you've got better this offseason if you're Minnesota. How does that work?
And also too, and they're not paying any of the Suter, they are completely out from under those 2 big contracts that were hog tying them for a bit.
All of the cap space this offseason.
And still couldn't make that
They
work.
wanted the centerman. They wanted to upgrade the center. Brock Nelson re-signed with Colorado. John Tavares went back to Toronto. Sam Bennett went back to Florida. So all of the centermen, they were off the market. So their options were Mikael Granlund and Pius Suter. And I would imagine they were probably interested in both of them, but weren't able to acquire any of them. And the trades just, apparently from what they're reporting, the offers for Marco Rossi are not as good as people thought they were going to be. So, they're stuck. And that's the part that's so wild to me is, last year it was Dallas, Colorado, Winnipeg. Those were your top three dogs. And then you had Minnesota, who looked dominant there early on and fell off once the injuries happened. And then it was St. Louis that was pushing, and Utah was irrelevant towards the end of the season. So was Nashville. We didn't even mention Nashville, who was fine, didn't do anything really. Mm-hmm. But now, Doug talked about being closer to 6th and 10th in the Western Conference this year. I think you are closer to 6th than 10th because I don't see you as being the last wild card team. I see you flip-flopping with Minnesota fighting for one of those playoff spots, and the Blues potentially pushing for one of those top three, depending on what these other teams do still.
Boy, normally when an NHL season starts, I think to myself, hey, whatever happens these first couple weeks, we'll just get our feet wet and see. They got to come out. Every single goddamn point from the start of the year to the end of the year is a big friggin' deal. Yep. So those dudes the Blues have got to come out of the box swinging like they want to belong.
Yep.
Boy, oh boy. God, it is going to feel like forever until they start playing. That's one of the best parts about these last couple of days is you just really I don't know, man. It just gets the hockey right out in front of your brain.
I think the excitement part is it's weird to say. I think Doug Armstrong made this team competitive without getting into what he views as their competitive window, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think he put them in a spot where it's hey, we could push for a run in the playoffs. We've got the goaltender, we got defense, you got depth now, but this wasn't supposed to be their competitive window. This isn't like they just went out there and signed Mitch Marner or threw buku money at players or traded a ton of assets to go get something, man. They made low-level signings. They made low-risk 2-year deals for 2 guys that are bottom 6 players for you in the future. They've got all of their other pieces that they're probably going to lock up. They've got a defenseman of the future. Now it's just cool. Let's see what these guys do and what our depth does, and then once we get to the point where we're ready to make a push, we go make our big push.
One thing, real quick, and this is just me, the hockey fan, asking. If you're an Edmonton Oilers fan,
I think you're hoping you get Ehlers. Which would be that would be a travesty if you got him, because I don't know how you make money work.
Okay, but then also too though, Alex, great that you got him, but your goaltender is still Stuart Skinner.
He is, Donnie.
And Bubba, we ran that back last year. We gave him the benefit of the doubt, like we thought that it could happen, that he could win it for him. That is not the case.
Yep.
That dude is not the guy that's going to take you, or at least take that team to a cup.
Yep.
What are they going to do?
Good luck. Hope another goaltender becomes available like Markstrom and Gibson. I can't believe they did not get John Gibson from Anaheim. If I'm Anaheim, I'm not going to trade him in division, but if you make me a good enough offer, the problem is Edmonton has nothing to offer.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to hope another goalie comes available. Like when Bobrovsky, which I don't expect Bobrovsky to leave Florida when he's a free agent after this year.
Right.
But, does he go to the free agent market? Maybe they're waiting, they're biding their time to see if the Blues decide that we got Binnington and Hofer's ready, so we trade Binnington, which I don't see happening. I don't know. That's the thing. Edmonton and Utah, in my opinion, people are going to still be all excited about in the season. Edmonton's going to be back at the Cup final again this year. They got McDavid and Draisaitl. Cool, you don't have goaltending. I guarantee you there's going to be people saying Utah's going to be a sneaky team to make a run this year, just like they said last year. Guess what? Don't have a goaltender. You're not going anywhere if you don't have goaltending. So I don't know what's going to happen with those teams, to be honest with you. Edmonton's going to be there at the end because you still have McDavid and Draisaitl and Bouchard. But it doesn't matter because everyone in Edmonton's I don't care what you do in the regular season, go win a Stanley Cup.
If by some strange chance of imagination that Jordan Binnington would be traded, I would lay my body on the tarmac at Lambert International Airport and keep that plane from taking off.
Do that Jim Carrey from Liar and Liar. Go down the stairs and just drive and be like, wait, stop the plane.
I would just not allow for it to happen. I hear that. I even hear that said, and I get mad.
Yep.
I'm just no, man. Yep. Because it just, over the course of the last few seasons, when there has been times that the team has really struggled, the super consistent Dude, he's been amazing, man.
Yep.
So, like, the idea of trading him,
Yep.
stop it.
I know it does. I know it doesn't happen a lot where goalies stay with one team for their entire career. Like, you see him move around a lot. Man, I hope he does.
God,
And I know
do,
we're
man.
2 years into the future or in the past right now. Like, it's not going to happen. But to think about it, like, you got a guy who will be all-time wins, all-time starts. Maybe he catches shutouts, playoff record, because he'll be in a competitive window at that time.
Yeah.
I hope Binnington's one of those guys that's here for the long haul rather than just 2 years and then he goes to free agency or they trade him.
Man, absolutely so. He just seems like one of us.
Yeah.
One
of us. One of us.
All right, so our 15-minute podcast turned into about 30.
Congratulations, Donnie. I don't know if you know this about us. We have a lot to talk about.
Well, you know, man, we just love talking hockey.
It's true.
Who can friggin' blame us?
I know.
Except probably most people are not so jonesing to talk about hockey on July the 3rd.
Oh, I think you'd be surprised at how many people are like, man, it's hockey season right now. Now you just got to get to the season.
Dude, I'm telling you something, between the Blues and between my Bills, oh, come on, fall. And the
Just
fact that it
get
won't
there.
be 847 degrees outside.
Also very true.
That as well.
Also very true. It's sweltering out there. Every time my daughters want to go outside, like, Daddy, can we go play outside? I'm like, sure, we're coming in 5 minutes. Run out, have fun, come on back in. We're done.
And they still come in sweaty with their
yeah.
faces beat red even after 5 minutes.
I'm like, cool, you look dehydrated. Go sit in the air conditioning. Daddy's not doing that. No, he's passing out on Daddy's watch.
We can't do that. Mom would never
Yeah.
let me live it
Daddy's
down.
not
ever.
letting. Yeah, Daddy's never in charge again.
All right, so everybody, for real, have a great 4th of July.
Yes.
Please, for the love of Pete, and I know it's a great time, just please be careful.
Yeah,
all
don't
right?
stand over fireworks. Don't hold them too long.
The next time that we have a podcast, I would like for you to have the same amount of fingers and toes that you do currently right now.
Yeah, because you don't want to touch your phone with your nose trying to watch the podcast.
It just doesn't even really
No,
work. I mean,
just,
it's not even handy
keep the
even in the
digits.
slightest. All right. So for Alex Ferrario, our vacationing in air quotes, Jeremy Rutherford, no vacation happening for that guy. Donnie Fandango, thank you as always for listening to the Last Minute Blues podcast. And as always, let's go Blues.
The Last Minute Blues Podcast. Hear more at 1057thepoint.com.